Should I just start? Should I tell them to sit there? Yeah. Yeah? Okay, let them be quiet.
Hi everybody, can we slowly sit down?
You don't even need a mic. You don't need a mic. Welcome everyone. Thank you for taking the time on this sunny day to be here. Today's event is sponsored by MOtherDuck and NIO House, so thank you for sponsoring us, and yeah, it's really nice. So if you could please scan the QR code for check-in so we can manage that. And the QR code under jobs is just for open vacancies. Thanks. So I'll give you a few seconds. Oh shit, I also didn't do it. Okay. Okay, the last phone went down, so I think it worked. Okay, so just a little bit of a backstory. So in the 70s, you had the Homebrew Computer Club, which was these quite technical people from Silicon Valley that came together and tinkered on technical stuff, and they were at the basis of the computer revolution that came afterwards. And before that, you had mostly software developers that were female, so they also had these gatherings where they would come together. And you can also think about LAN parties where people come together, and at some point, you know, AI Tinkerers came to being, and this is also a club where people come together and tinker on AI, do demos, show what they're working on. So feel encouraged to present a demo at some point. That's always welcome, so you can get advice and connect with other people. So AI Tinkerers by numbers. So we are active in 223 cities at this moment, and we held a lot of gatherings since then. We have around 100,000 AI practitioners that are involved. And yeah, we focus on code and very elite technical talent at every event. And also a reminder that whenever you register for AI Tinkerers, we never share your email with sponsors or anyone else. It's always encrypted, so don't worry that, yeah, all our info at this point is already on the street, but it's not because of us. So, okay, today we're doors open, they're already closed, nobody can get in anymore. We will have demos. After demos, we have some networking, and you can take some more food and beverages, and then we will wrap up. So we will first start today with Martina. She will tell something about NIO House. Then Adi will tell something about MOtherDuck. Adi sits in the back. And then Christoph, hey Christoph, will also do a talk about adaptive proactive agents. Hari will do a demo, there's Hari, will do a demo on Solus event-driven agent orchestration. Vipin, I think, is not present. We will wait for him to come. And then at the end, we will have Ethan, and he will talk us through a project he's working on called Organization Planner. So, yeah, Martina. This works, right? Okay.
All right. Hello, hello, welcome. Thank you for coming, first of all, to NIO House on this very hot day. My sincerest apologies for the heat in this place, but we are working on it. So yeah, I'm Martina, I'm the house specialist over here. I'm working here for a couple of months. And yeah, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the brand itself, because I think the building is quite interesting and we get a lot of questions on a daily basis, like from people coming from the street, like, what is this? There are cars on the ground floor, there's a cafe, then we have here the meeting space, and there's also a great event space on the 6th floor with the nice view on Amsterdam. So yeah, let me start. So NIO was founded in 2014 by William Li. It's a Chinese brand, and they are, of course, producing the electric vehicles, the electric cars that you saw downstairs when coming in, I guess. And yeah, they are fully electric, non-hybrid. We also have battery swapping, so I think that's another unique selling point. We have NIO houses and NIO spaces. Well, in Europe, we are in the Netherlands, Germany, Denmark, Sweden, and Norway. And we are also having other dealerships in Hungary, in Albania. We are now exploring, because NIO expanded to Europe about 2 years ago, 2-3 years ago. So it's still a little baby in comparison with other brands. And yeah, here's just a little logo explanation. So that you know, then we have a hub in Utrecht. So if anyone is interested in the test drive, I would recommend it over there, because we also do it from this location, but you know, the Amsterdam streets tend to be very, very busy, very crowded with trams, pedestrians, tourists, and bikers. So yeah, we have a big hub in Utrecht, in Breukelen, next to the Breukelen station. And then, yeah, we have all the models. So we have currently 6 models available in the stock. And yeah, it's basically NIO positions themselves as more of a premium, high-end brand. We have SUVs, like the big ones that you saw on the ground floor, but we also have some smaller models. We also have a sub-brand that's called Firefly that is also available in the hub. So the Firefly is more of a city car, also more affordable. Yeah, if anyone is interested after after the event, you can just let me know. So as I said, there are 6 models. Here we have the EL6, ET5, EL8, and the ET5 Touring, just so you know. And there's also the Firefly that, as I said, it got positioned in the Autorij now in the Netherlands as a car of the year 2025. So yeah, the Firefly actually launched 6 months ago. So we are very proud of it, because it's a new thing on the market, and yeah, it's a sub-brand, a sister of NIO, but we also have it available, as I said, downstairs. We can do it at test drive. Maybe it's a little better because it's quite small, so it's okay for Amsterdam. And yeah, as I said, the battery swap station, it's also something quite interesting. So you have the option to lease the battery, and then when you lease the battery, you can swap it. So we have 10 of those stations in the Netherlands and 16 total in Europe. And basically, instead of charging, you drive into the station, the old battery is taken out and the new one is put in, and it takes about 4 to 5 minutes instead of charging. So we are the only brand now in Europe that does this. In China, there's 4,000 or even 5,000 of those stations. They're much more popular, and yeah, the brand is just growing more over there, but we are still trying in Europe. And now, finally, let me talk about this house, because enough about the cars. So yeah, we have the house. On the right side, you see that's our building, beautiful. It used to be it's an old Metz building. Not sure if there are any Dutch people over here, but we sometimes have some grandmas and grandpas coming here, and apparently there used to be a restaurant on the 6th floor, a very popular one. Well, now there's an event space. And there's also a NIO house in Rotterdam, but that's just 1 floor, as you see over here, and yeah, they also have a few cars on the display. And yeah, we have, well, today, I think you're not going to get a tour because the house is already closed. Normally, the opening hours are 10 till 6, but I just want to explain that the house is designed with the blue sky coming theory, and also it's designed by those architects, the MVRDV, so an international group of architects, also some of the Dutch ones, some Italian ones, some French ones, but the blue sky coming. So basically, we go from the ground to the sky, so the first 2 floors are the Earth. Then the third, second and the third, fourth are the sunset, and the 6 and 7 are the sun and the sky. I guess if you do a whole tour, it makes more sense, but that was the whole idea, how they designed it. And yeah, as you see, on the first floor we have the cafe, so it's available for everyone, anyone can come. The second floor here we have the co-working table. It's open also to anyone, students, freelancers, anyone can come in and just co-work. The same goes for the third floor. On the fourth floor we have art gallery, now collaborating with Mat Art. Yeah, feel free to drop by any other day if you're interested in the art. And the 6th and 7th floor are the event space. Just some pictures from the house. We are currently here. And yeah, we basically do internal and external events. So for the internal events, we have our own NIO app. And then there are just some examples. So a piano concert, a wine tasting, photography workshop, co-working sessions, a meditation. Also, yeah, something more female, lip gloss making, because we're trying to target anyone. And then, so those are the app events that we organize, but we also do rent the location externally, as for today. But yeah, we also had ADE in-house, the Grachten Festival, so the Canal Festival, We Transfer book that got released. The launch was here as well. And some other friends of the brands, it's an influencer event. Some other events, more events, but I probably missed something already. But yeah, so basically we are open to external rentals as well, as I mentioned, as also for today, for you, for the AI thinkers. And yeah, I'm very happy that it went through. So thank you, Dilan, again, for contacting us. So that was it. And yeah, if you have any questions, I will be here till closing. If you want to talk about the cars or the house or anything else, just let me know. That was it.
Hello. Did you guys know Opus 4.8 release now?
Yeah, just popped up.
Yeah, we just saw Opus 4.8 high on our...
Let's close this.
You wanna,
How's it looking?
what do we do?
Choose content.
Mirror,
Window.
entire screen, no, entire screen. Yes.
Or would you like to use the mic?
No, we'll just share it, it's fine.
Sure.
No worries, no worries. Opus 4.8, yes, we don't work for Claude, but... Okay. Thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for NIO House for sponsoring the venue. Yeah, we are from MOtherDuck. We are a data warehouse company. We are a Seattle-based company, but we have a Dutch entity, so we have a Amsterdam office since the last 2 years, 2.5 years now. We build databases, so we do a lot of research, we do a lot of platform, cloud, and the lot, and then we are building a lot of AI native stuff into our product. So we're going to be talking a little bit about what we do in the AI space. So we recently launched a product feature called Dives. So that's going to be, let me just ask databases in my MOtherDuck org. So the journey for integrating AI into MOtherDuck started with in 2024 in September when MCP servers launched. So the first we open sourced our local MCP server that helped many users to connect to MOtherDuck and query their databases. Unknowingly, we didn't build it as a toy, but it grew in popularity. So it was one of the most popularly used MCP servers in the beginning. So that was already 2 years ago. And we've slowly then built on top of that to kind of see how our customers use our MCP server and build it to become the remote MCP server that it's now today. A lot went into context engineering, tool iteration inside the MCP server, adding more features inside the MCP server. So the way that we're seeing is that we're going to move a lot towards letting our users use MCP server to kind of access the data warehouse, set accounts, set administration and management and stuff. So yeah, this is one of the tools that we have inside the MCP server, list databases. And I'm just going to say, can you create a dive that's interesting with the galactic coffee DB? So let's see this rip and let it explore. I'm going to explain a little bit about what this feature is. So a dive is a dashboard that's being built on top of your database. So for the questions that you ask, it explores.
Yeah.
Zoom in. Oh yeah, sure. So for the databases that your data warehouse has, it's going to query the database. It's going to iterate on top of the queries. It's going to see what tables are inside the data warehouse, what is inside the tables. It's going to sample the data, and it's going to create a dashboard. So let's see. I guess 4.8 thinks a lot.
It's doing this?
Yeah.
Is it something that only I can use as a MOtherDuck user, or also something I can surface to clients, for example, so they can?
Very, very good question. So you could do both. So you could let your client connect to the database that you have provisioned for your client to build a dashboard. We call it a dive. Or you can build your dive and embed the dive inside your application so your customers can use it. So you can do both ways as well. So we call that embedded dive. Yes. So now it's build the dive, and yeah, so you can also embed the dive in your application. Does that answer your question? Perfect. So while
What does this galactic coffee?
it's just a sample data.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe a little bit of an introduction about us too. So I work at MOtherDuck as a platform infrastructure engineer, and Nicholas here.
Yeah, I'm a member of the database team, so I'm working on a core database, which is in this case DuckDB, and making it kind of cloud ready. And as you can see here, we basically just prompted that we want to see something interesting with the data set. What it managed to do is it gave us, it generated some kind of graph and showed us that there's a seasonal pattern in the data and how much coffee is sold. Apparently, there's more towards the end of the year, which makes sense. It's cold. You want to have coffee if it's cold. And while this is all nice and well, it works within Claude. What you can do is it also automatically gets deployed to MOtherDuck as well. So you have your visualization within Claude, but now if you open our MOtherDuck UI, you can also see this is the visualization it created before. And unlike most dashboards you just create within Claude, this is an actually 100% interactive integration which relies on live data. That means in the background it's gonna refetch all things. I actually built a small presentation in one of these styles, just Claude and me vibing. Trying to explain a bit better what dives are and how you can use them. So let's go into presentation mode and give you a bit more background. So first of all, we're using DuckDB internally. What is DuckDB? It's a database. It's basically like SQLite in a sense that it is in process, but it is for analytics, where SQLite is really for transactional workloads. You just insert something, you get it out. It's more of a database for CRUD apps. DuckDB really excels at big data, like terabytes of data. But sometimes just having a DuckDB on your local machine is just not enough, and that is when you kind of need MOtherDuck. And using MOtherDuck is really as simple as kind of using DuckDB. First of all, you import it, and then you attach to MOtherDuck, to whatever data warehouse you have already existing. And then you can start querying. And the cool thing about MOtherDuck is that you're not only using your local DuckDB database that you already have, you also use the cloud. So they kind of work collaboratively on executing your queries and answering your questions. Yeah, and it's built for the cloud. You have one DuckDB instance per user, which is really neat for agents because you don't want your agent hogging up all the compute resources of your database, making all the other things slow. So each agent gets their own DuckDB instance in the cloud. You have zero copy, which means that if you want to clone a database, you don't actually clone the data. You just clone a reference to the data, and it's really fast. It's free because you're not copying data. It's just reference copying. And all of these tools make it really nice for agents to interact with it because you can just give them a copy, tell them to run wild on that copy. They might drop something, they might update something really terrible, but you don't care. It's not your data, it's just a copy of your data. And whenever you feel like it, you sync it back. So yeah, what are dives and how do they really work internally? As you have seen, the agents are really the driver. Dives are not meant to be created manually, handcrafted React code. You basically chat with Claude or any other agent, and they will do what you've seen before. They will first query your data. They will look at what is already there. Then, and I think that's the most important part, they actually look up what is a dive, because in the beginning, they don't really have a concept of what a dive is. And that is where we kind of tell them how to create a dive and how to interact with divs. And then lastly, they create a dive, which is what you've seen in the end, where you had this nice diagram showcasing you different things. And I think, as you all know, agents are nice, but without evaluation or something to guide them, they can kind of go everywhere and nowhere. So what we do is when Claude Code or any agent for that matter creates a dive, is we first validate that the dashboard they have created actually makes sense. That means we parse the JavaScript, we create an ASD, we extract the queries they're using internally, and then we validate the queries. See if they parse, see if they actually make sense. And only if all of these steps have been completed, then we upload the dashboard to MOtherDuck. If any of the steps don't complete successfully, we go back, tell the agent to update things, and normally self-corrects and fixes it. So as you've seen, we hosted basically untrusted code that someone vibed on our website. Might seem dangerous, but actually it's not. Because what we're doing is we're kind of sandboxing all the content that is user-generated in an iframe, and then only allow certain interactions from within this sandbox. That also means that if someone is sending you a dive and you're opening it and you're running that code on your laptop and on your data warehouse, it has to be safe. That means we validate the database queries, we parse them, we inspect the query tree, we make sure that there's no one sending a drop database statement messing up your data warehouse. And I think this is also where hybrid query execution comes in. I mentioned before that your client-side DuckDB and your server-side DuckDB kind of work jointly on executing queries. This is because you have a database on your client as well. It's an in-process database. This is the same as the case for all these dashboards that we showed you before. This here contains a database compiled to WASM, which means that once the initial load has happened, you cache all the information locally, and then you have a local database which is able to answer all your queries locally. You don't need to download anything. You can drill down without executing anything on your data warehouse. And that makes it really fast and snappy. So, thank you. Yeah. I hope it wasn't too long.
Just a quick parting note. We're always hiring. We're currently looking for engineers. So if anybody's interested across databases, platform, AI, agents,
Yeah,
please
literally
reach out.
anything engineering.
Anything is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can share this one.
Thanks for your talk. Pretty interesting to see, like, yeah, basically like the SQLite for analytical data. But I'm wondering, usually you need like pretty beefy hardware for running these big analytics queries over like huge amounts of data, right? So I don't really get the part where, yeah, you have like a locally running DuckDB in your browser, but where's the actual computation happening?
So what is happening is, yeah, as you said, you have this local database. Okay, so you have the local database, and this connects to your data warehouse. The way we connect with it allows the query, and you select star from something. That query is going to run wherever it makes the most sense. So if it makes more sense to run it locally because all of your data is locally available, then it's going to run locally. If you have remote and local data, it's going to split the query execution between local and remote. And when you said, analytical queries are heavy and you need a lot of compute, that is true, but I think DuckDB does a really wonderful job of just making big data feel super small, and you can run joins on hundreds of gigabytes, even terabytes on your laptop, assuming you can fit that much data on your laptop hard drive.
2 points to add to that. The misconception that local compute is not good enough has changed a lot in the last 10 years. Your MacBook Pro, I don't know, M1, M2, M3, latest generation is probably 100 times faster than the server node that you had in AWS 10 years ago. So all the data warehouses that were built 10 years ago had this distributed system where one query could not run in one single node, so you had to kind of distribute all the load across different servers and then bring that result back to the single server. But we believe that the way that we've architected our data warehouse is like one single node is a lot more powerful, and our laptops are also super powerful. So it lets you scale from going from local to the cloud really smoothly.
Feels almost like the storage is more the bottleneck. Like if you're talking about 100 gigabytes,
Yeah.
I don't have 100 gigabytes free in my MacBook.
Yeah. So DuckDB does something interesting. So it does not need to store all the data in the memory. So it does something called spill to disk. Like any data that it does not need to store in memory right away, like when you're doing joins, when you're doing aggregates, right? It writes the data into disk and then reads it back when it actually needs it. So it kind of manages memory really, really well in that case. And to your point about data sizes, yeah, in data warehouses, you do have 10 terabytes of data. But last year, there was research from Redshift, like 95% of data warehouse workloads are less than 1 GB.
Yeah, well, they touch less than 1 GB of
They
data.
touch less than 1 GB.
That
So
means
it's like,
that means they're just skipping over a lot. Your table might be 10 terabytes big, but you're realistically only interested in last week's sales. So there's a lot of data that you're just not interested in reading. Any more questions?
you had a question.
You had a question?
Well,
You want?
I was kind of wondering at what size does the model break down actually? What is the maximum size you can easily handle in general?
Like the data?
The database and the MCP and the whole stack actually.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So for MOtherDuck, we have different compute sizes. So usually we recommend customers when they're doing agentic stuff to run like small size of compute. But we do scale. We have like small, standard, pulse, jumbo, mega, and giga, for like very, very big workloads. For some workloads, we have multiples of gigabytes of RAM. Terabytes of RAM, sorry, of RAM. So that on the data side, that's the case. On the agent side, when you look at tokens, that's still something that we're optimizing.
Does it all go through tokens?
Yeah. So we're trying to see how we can sample the the database better and how much we can truncate the data that's sent to the, when you're creating a dive, for example.
What exactly was your question regarding is it all tokens?
Well, you have a, sorry. No, I mean, what was the limit? Where does the model, so your stack basically reach the limit? So you partially answered that. But it all goes through tokens as well. So if you, I suppose if you send data by
Oh no, we don't send data.
Yeah. If you know the MCP protocol is a lot more lightweight. We would never send 1 terabyte of data to Claude. I think they would be also very unhappy about that.
So Claude generally writes the query to then build the dashboard.
Yeah.
So
and then you
this
just
particular dashboard has only the SQL queries.
Yeah.
It does not have the data.
Yeah.
So
If you look at the source code, you'll see that it's only. I'll zoom in a bit for you. See, there's no data hard coded. It's just SQL queries. So it's kind of lightweight. Okay.
we are around till the end, so just ask us questions for later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Christoph.
All right, cool. So this will be a more like Tinkerer talk. So there's going to be a lot of code and very little slides. And so when you get lost, like let me know, and we'll see. Maybe as a bit of context, I think the title is Adaptive Proactive Agents or something like this. What does it actually mean? So I'm working solo founder on Done That. Done That is an app that promises to double your productivity. I think it's very marketing speak. I did a little calculation how it actually doubles your productivity, but we don't have to get into this. What it does, it on its core just takes screenshots all the time, feeds them into an LLM, analyzes what's going on, and from there coaches you, tracks your time, like does all kinds of stuff. And what we're going to look at for this talk is Don. Don is the coach of Done That. And basically it can just pop up at any time. Oops. And start talking to you because about something it saw in your screenshots, right? As you can imagine, this can be very powerful when it works, and it can be super annoying when it doesn't work. When you just have like this thing popping up there all the time, it's like, hey, how are you doing? Maybe, I don't know who remembers Clippy from Word is... The design with the big eyes is a bit inspired by Clippy. I was thinking of calling it Donny, but we ended up at Don in the end. Like how do you measure this kind of thing, right? Like how do you know if it's good if people are getting annoyed? So this was kind of the motivation. Then let me see what I planned to talk about next. Let's just look at some code. So this is the core template, the prompt. You are a proactive AI. Then I basically allow every user to define their own prompt if they want to, like most people don't. But there is, just to open things up, if we look at Don, let's close this again. Basically, I have like different ICPs. One is people with ADHD who are just like all over the place and like can't really track their time and not really sure what they're doing. And they really wanted something that just like pushes them all the time. It's like, hey, like get picked to work, like out of this rabbit hole. Then there are other people who like want more like the cheerleader kind of thing that like at the end of the day, it's like, hey, well done. Like you did all this great stuff, like motivating a bit more. So I kind of created different personas to already influence a little bit like how this chat works. And then allowing people to kind of adapt. Yeah, I think as I then started building this, I realized this can go wrong very quickly. So initially I put out this prompt, I deployed the app, And then for some reason, it just started like every 5 minutes, because the screenshots are every 5 minutes, and basically at every screenshot, it's checking, hey, is there something I can now do? It just started annoying people. So we needed a very quick kill switch. So I then added a kill switch to this app in the admin thing, that like whenever something is going wrong, I can just like turn off this chat for everybody and like just be safe. I then also added another thing that just monitors how often this chat is active. And if it goes above a specific frequency, it's like, I don't know, more like 5% messages sent out to users, it also just shuts down the whole thing and like lets me debug, just because like the risk is so high that everybody's gonna get annoyed. And then this, like they can disable this. As soon as they've disabled this, then nothing is gonna work anymore, right? This is the kill switch. All right. Then to try to make this agent more adaptive, the idea is like somehow learn from previous interactions, right? Like how do I learn from these interactions? The first thing that I did was quite naive, is like just feed in previous chats, right? Like maybe the user responded in the previous chat that they didn't want this specific interaction, or they didn't want something like this. But there's like a limit of chats that you can feed into the prompt without it being overwhelmed. So what I then started doing next is I added like a module to define actions that agents can take, and have an evaluation module to figure out if the users actually ended up doing something. So what does it mean? So let's look, for example, here at these agent definitions. One of them is to take a break, right? So there's a little bit of a prompt that explains like what this means to the agent. And then I define signals in the resolution windows to measure if this is actually happening, right? So for example, I tell the user, hey, you should take a break. And then in the next hour or so, I check like, did they actually stop working? If so, probably what I said made sense, right? It wasn't annoying because actually they did and followed up on what I suggested them to do. And I then, let me see, here's an example, I think just from the database. So here I suggested that, or not I, this chatbot suggested that they should set some goals, and the outcome was they actually did. Right? Like very often they don't. And the next step of that is, of course, then to go through and to try to learn from these outcomes and adapt per user or personalize. Okay, like this user never reacts to like this kind of prompt, so like let's just not suggest that anymore, right? Like this user reacts, but like only in the morning, or like you kind of have to try to find patterns from this. My initial thought was it's kind of a reinforcement learning problem, because you kind of have a state space, you have actions you can take, and then you have outcomes. And I wanted to train a reinforcement model on this, but like things got busy and I just didn't have time until now. But it feels like a typical reinforcement learning problem, no? Okay, this is one agent. Then the other touch point I have with the users is basically the way that works. Let's go back to the app. Is at the end of every day, I kind of create a summary of what happened. Right? Like, so yesterday, my goal was to achieve an inbox 0. I did a podcast. I had some meetings. I did like a lot of outreach. And this is then sent by email to the user, so they can check if this is actually fine, and also kind of to help them review their day a little bit. So this is a very natural touch point I have with users, right? The problem was I wasn't really measuring much. So like one day, like 2 months ago or something, I started setting up a CRM. I had an intern. The intern wanted to do growth stuff, so I was like, okay, like we gotta have a CRM. In the CRM, I then started measuring who's actually using which features. Right? So this is a bunch of users, and I basically defined measures for each feature that then checks: are they currently using it? Have they ever tried it? Have they stopped using it, or have they just never even discovered it? And these features latent, and you just see like just visually compared to the features that people are using and trying, and the latent ones, there's a bunch of latent stuff, right? Like so, people never activated, they were never onboarded, they never used these things. And I was thinking, hey, maybe we can use this framework of suggesting actions in these daily interactions, then also in the emails, right? It's kind of you have a touch point already anyway, and these emails looked a bit like this, like very boring. You can see I stopped reading them at some point for myself. It's like, it just tells me what I did. It's like kind of boring. So then I was like, hey, actually, let's take this email, but apply the same idea, right? So from these few actions that I had before, which is like set your goals, take a break, work on something else, change your focus. Now all of a sudden we have like hundreds of these actions, right? That all, let's look at one. This is like, hey, reply to an email, because there's an inbound webhook there. When you reply to these emails, it activates a chat, and then you can kind of talk to the agent. Or there's another one here, hey, like you should totally add an avatar to your profile, or like all these different things, right, that you can do. And again, like for each of them, I defined some kind of prioritization function to see did they actually do this in the end, so that you can then learn from what actually worked, what didn't, and apply this to more users. Yeah, I think that's the main concept. I think in general, I'm super bullish on this idea of everybody has emails from users. You can just build this agentic email interaction there, right? Like basically you have authentication from a user because you have their email. You can check that the email is actually coming from the server. You can link it to their account. So you could do much more like direct interaction via email with people. And this is like one example of this, right? But I think you could, like, I don't see any reason why I can't buy things on Amazon by just sending an email to Amazon being like, hey, I want to buy a fridge, give me 3 examples. And I just answer yes to the first one. This is a bit of a digression, but Jeff Bezos actually, when he tried to start Amazon, first tried to do it on email for the first half year until they found out, hey, like we just can't parse these things, let's just build websites. But now with AI, we actually can, right? Like, so this is an example of interacting via email with people. And maybe the rest of this talk wasn't that relevant to you, but I think you can add this to basically any app, and it's totally worth trying. So maybe here's some inspiration to also try it for you. All right, I think that's everything. Yeah, any questions? Yeah.
I'm curious, what's the most used action? What do people like best?
Sure. So the question was, what is the most used action? What do people like best? It is, so for this chat thingy, I built a thing where in the beginning of the morning, it just asks people to set goals. It's like, hey, what do you want to, like, what's the most important thing for today? That seems to work quite well. Like, maybe because it like just triggers you to think a bit, and like, then it also holds you accountable to this. The taking break stuff and that other stuff is a bit more mushy. Please.
Can you say more about the privacy aspects?
Oh, sure. Yeah, sorry. I didn't focus on this at all. It's like super privacy sensitive, this whole thing, of course, right? So what's the best way to explain this? Let's go back to the website. So first of all, parts of this is just open source. So you can go to the repository. This is an Electron app. So like everything that runs locally in your computer, you can inspect, you can understand what's going on. You can bring your own LLMs so that at least for this initial screenshot analysis thing, they just never touch my servers. And you can verify this because you can look at the open source version of the app and make sure that, yeah, these like critical parts are private. And then there is a lot more stuff. And I just built a long page that explains it all, like a diagram of like how the data flows through the whole app. You can pause it. You can define apps that you just never want screenshotted. So then it like kind of takes a grade, like adds a gray box on top of it. You can review everything. Like you can use this as a team, right? But then you get like very privacy sensitive dynamics. So there you can like review everything. It's like highly limited what other people can see. You can, like everything is stored in Europe. You can pause this at any time. Yeah, lots of other stuff.
Have you looked at local models? Maybe not for real-time, the proactive stuff, but maybe there's some stuff that can happen like overnight when it doesn't matter that it's slow?
So I looked at the local models for this. I think the most privacy sensitive part of this is like the raw data access, right? Like seeing your screen and analyzing what's going on. So I tried to do that locally. It just took too much power from users, at least so far, right? Maybe somebody with an M3 MacBook, like it's totally fine. But the idea of this is it kind of works everywhere. But you can just, like you can bring your own LLM, right? And the LLM can be in the cloud or local. You just give me an API and I'll call the API. And if it's a local LLM, then you can use a local LLM.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like, for some things like, I want to look at what I did yesterday, it could also happen overnight.
Yeah.
And then it's maybe not so bad.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So the data, once it's processed, is actually stored on my servers. So then, it's kind of in the cloud already, and then you might as well just use LLMs there. But yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Do you have anything in place that prevents storing super sensitive data that might actually not want to be stored anywhere?
Yeah.
I'm opening my users and see how much which user is spending.
Yeah, so sorry, I forgot to repeat the previous message, I think. But the question here was if there is anything to prevent storing like super sensitive data. And the first thing is the prompt, but that takes a screenshot and kind of creates text from this, is set up in a way that it says like, ignore anything that looks like PII, that looks like credit card information, passwords, API keys, like all that stuff, right? Then there is a setting where basically it takes all the raw data and then creates this few bullet point summaries at the end of the day. And the bullet points are like the interesting stuff. So you can also set it up so that after it generates those, it just deletes all the kind of intermediary data. You lose a bit of additional functionality. For example, there's an MCP server. You can just MCP this and then kind of give your Claude context about like anything you did ever, right? Like this gets less if you decide to like delete all that data. But it's still, I think, pretty useful. There's also a thing where you can say, hey, like, please exclude always like client names, like names of projects, these kind of things. Please.
Does it still send the screenshots every that amount of minutes if you're probably maybe on your bank account and it takes a screenshot, sends it to the AI that you're working with?
Yes, so
Prompt to ignore it, but the screenshot's still shared.
yeah, so you can say, for example, let's just open it up. You can say, hey, for example, the app signal, if it's open, let's just do this. Let's hope there's nothing too sensitive there. That's the whole point why I try to do it like this. When it's open and it's taking a screenshot, we have an issue here, so there's a bug. But it should then just gray out this thing, and then you shouldn't be able to see it, right? But you maybe don't want to do this for all your banking apps or whatever. Then you can use an LLM that you just trust, like a local LLM or something that's hosted somewhere more sensitive. And the next step that I'm working on is to use a processing pipeline that uses an LLM that kind of takes out the sensitive data, but then still you have to process it somewhere, right? So
You use the privacy filter by OpenAI.
I have not known.
It's a 1 billion parameter model, very small. I think it's even less than 1 billion, and it can run on almost any device, and it just filters out masks data from.
Ah.
I think it also does PDFs and stuff like that. I don't know if it does images.
Yeah, I'll have a look.
Does it? Privacy filter. It's by OpenAI. Yeah.
Sorry, the question was if I have tried privacy filter by OpenAI. So there's one by them. There's ScreenPipe. Not sure if you guys know ScreenPipe. They also just released a model that does a version of this. I think this is slowly losing power. So yeah, the plan is to work on one of those. The problem is you have to do it locally, right? Because otherwise, again, it's already sent somewhere, and that costs power, and that might just not work on all platforms.
Privacy filter is a really, really small model.
Okay.
Yeah, it's open source.
Yeah, I'll have a look. Cool.
Cool. Let's continue the questions afterwards. We can announce the next speaker. Right?
Thanks.
Okay, so the next one is Hari.
Hi.
Do you need anything?
No, that's pretty much it. Does it work? Does it work? It works. And I somehow need to put it up like so. Okay, nope. Okay, and slowly over there. Okay. Hi, can everybody hear me? Okay. So my name is Hari. I'm a developer advocate at Solus, and today I'll cover three parts. What is Solus, what we do, or what we do in the agentic space, what's the use case or the demo that I am going to be showing, and how it works, and hopefully it inspires you to think a bit more about what it does, right? So Solus is, we have been around for 23 years now. We are based in Canada. We are a company that deals, or that is an event-driven architecture platform, right? So for people who don't know, EDA or event-driven architecture is where applications can publish events, which are small changes in state, system, applications, whatever. And there are applications which consume these or subscribe to these events, and they just react to those events, right? So for people who are equating us with Kafka, we are not Kafka. We are very different from it. We have a lot of customers. So for example, Heineken, Shell, the Eurocontrol, FAA, a lot of airports, a lot of retail companies around the world. So we have a pretty large customer base. One thing that we started off doing a few years ago when AI started booming is thinking how can we apply our real-time and EDA practices to an agentic world, right? And what we did is we built out a platform, an agentic development platform called as a Solus Agent Mesh. It's pretty similar to almost all the other platforms in the market, in the sense that you can create agents, you can create workflows, you have an orchestrator in there, which is backed by an LLM, which gets your inputs, your requests, parses it, understands what it does, and then delegates to sub-agents, blah, 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 right? It's A2A compatible as well, or A2A compliant as well. So how do we differ from everything else in the market is all the agent interactions, so agent to agent, or orchestrator to agent, or orchestrator to sub-orchestrator, or whatever you want to think, all these interactions happen through the event broker, right? So an agent could publish an event saying, okay, an orchestrator could publish an event to a specific agent saying, I have this input, do this thing, and give me back a result. That the agent does it on its own and comes back with a new event which publishes back to the broker, and then it is subscribed by the orchestrator, and then it sort of collates all this information from the various agents that it is talking to, right? So what it means is you build agents which are completely decoupled from each other. You can remove agents, you can add in 10 new agents. You don't have to worry about inter-agent communication or number of connections between agents and stuff like that. What I did is I built a small demo for a use case called as request for quote, right? I think Christoph, he mentioned about how you can say, or you can send an email, or you can ask somebody, okay, I want 2 refrigerators, or I want to buy 3 refrigerators, and give me a quote for it, or give me the amount that it will take, right? So this is what a request for quote essentially is, where you simply say, I'm looking at these and these products. I'm a customer of your company, so give me pricing and tell me how much time it will take for shipping, when can it be available, and stuff like that, right? So the use case itself is quite large in larger enterprises, or quite complex in larger enterprises, because you have to work with different data systems. You could work with a product information or a master data system. You could work with SAP or Salesforce for pricing, availability, stocking, availability to promise, and stuff like that. You have to work with a third-party logistics provider to understand how much time it would take from point A to point B, what would be the cost, and stuff like that. So what I did is I essentially added in multiple of these agents. So I have a PIM agent, which is a product information management agent. It's essentially a RAG agent which queries an underlying database. It could be an MCP to a separate or an API call to a PIM system as well. I have the main orchestrator, which is obviously the brains of the thing. I have a code planning agent, which is the sub-orchestrator or the sub-agent or the workflow, which kind of delegates tasks to different agents. I have so for my pricing and availability, I went to SAP because that's the largest used ERP in the world, to be honest. And they have their own agentic platform, of course. So I built an agent around that, which will talk to this. And that's the jewel of the RFQ agent. And I have a real-time shipping integration with a shipping provider of my choice. It's called as ShipStation. That's it, right? So what I did is I have this nice prompt which says, I'm from this company. I'm looking at these products over here, and I'm looking for these quantities. Send it to me at this destination address, and it says I have a delivery date of, in the future, somewhere around end of September, October. And it says validate some things, do these things, etc. Right? So what happens in the background is, as soon as I go here, right? I have a nice visualizer which you can use to, does it? Okay. No. Okay. No. Yeah. Okay. Where you can see what exactly is happening, right? So it comes to the orchestrator, it sends it to the sub-agent or the sub-orchestrator, and it starts delegating stuff to the different agents. So the PIM, the dual agent. Now, it's a very expensive and time-consuming task, so I have a small mock around it, but the real one works as well. And it calls the shipping agent as well, but then the LLM says that, okay, for the shipping agent, I need stuff like the sourcing address, the size of the package and stuff like that. So it keeps that on the hold, right? And in the meanwhile, it goes along, it gets information from the PIM, it gets information from the LLM, from the SAP agents and stuff like that. And it kind of collates it together for a proper response. Okay? And so it talks about things like, okay, where can I source this product from? Which is the best warehouse? What is the, how do you say it? The shipping cost? What is the product cost and stuff like that, right? Now, again, very common implementation, pretty much works in all the other agentic platforms as well. Again, how does it differ from the Solus agent mesh is, these are the interactions between the orchestrator, the LLM, the sub-agents, etc., right? Now, if I can go and somehow toggle this thing, it actually shows the events that are being published and subscribed by the orchestrator and the different agents in the background, right? So all of these agents, they are put on to different topics, and it's just publish it to broadcast around the world or to everybody, and then it's how do you say, it's subscribed to by relevant consumers or relevant agents, and they act upon the tasks that have been delegated to them, right? Okay. So what does this do for you is it helps you kind of decouple your agents from each other. If you have 10 agents, right? For building a completely agentic platform, you would have to build somewhere around 450 connections between them. Right? 450? Yeah. N into n minus 1 by 2. That's the formula usually, right? If you grow in more agents, or if one of those agents kind of misbehaving, or it's going wild or stuff like that, it's very difficult. It has a big impact on the other agents in terms of usability, in customer experience, and stuff like those. The event-based decoupling and the interaction between the agents using events helps in reducing that and helps in bringing that into control. To be honest, this idea is unique, yes, but it can be implemented with pretty much any software, any broker in the background. You just have to implement it yourself. AWS is even implementing this using what is called as durable Lambda functions in their own Lambda landscape. So you can actually take this theory of agents communicating with each other using events or an event broker and implement it in a platform or a language of your choice, to be honest. And that's pretty much it for me. Any questions?
Yeah. So the does the main agent plan to interact with other agents, or is this a workflow that you have?
You can do it either way. So you can simply let the LLM decide on what agents have to be called by itself. Or in some use cases where you say, no, I can't allow the LLM to have its own non-deterministic behavior. I want some kind of a probabilistic determinism in there. You can use workflows as well. So you can have workflows which says, call the agents in this specific sequence. And you can even say that this agent should have this input, it should have this output. You can do validations and you can do all of that. Another question. So I'll just go in sequence. Sorry. Yeah, go on.
Is it fair to say that this is basically a safe open flaw? Or am I misunderstanding this?
No.
No? Okay.
I think you could say, I was reading the docs, so.
Okay.
I think you could say this is a way for multiple OpenClaw instances to even communicate.
Yeah. So ideally speaking, any agent that is A2A compliant, you could simply integrate into this platform. We have an A2A proxy, and we need that because your A2A agent, by definition, it works only on HTTP and SSEs, right? But we work on agents. So we need that proxy bridge in between to have the orchestrator or the Solus agent mesh platform interact with your non-Solus A2A compliant agent, or non-Solus agent mesh A2A compliant agents. That guy, I had this question as well. Thank you.
Yeah, so what I'm seeing here is from an email to a complete requirement offer, and this use case is logistics. But what's the biggest use case you have? Because I can imagine if I change the agent, I can apply to every industry.
Yeah. So again, the question was the agents to a procurement response, but this workflow can be applied to any other use case as well. Yeah, sure. So ideally speaking, you can have as many ways of interacting or triggering the orchestrator itself, right? So you could have a chat window, or you can have an event, or you can even have an email which is sent to the broker, or which is pushed on to the broker as an event. So you could do a variety of those things. A Slack, a Teams message, or whatever, right? So ultimately, all the orchestrator really needs or should need in an EDA-driven agentic solution is an agent to kind of go do your work. And it can be applied to any use case as well. Yeah, true. You had a question.
Yeah, again about the A2A part. How good is the support actually right now with these enterprise platforms for you to talk to their agent? Because I know they really like for them to be the orchestrator and talk to your agent. Yeah. But the other way around, is that support kind of good? Just repeat.
Yeah, sure. So the compatibility between the Solus agent mesh and the other enterprise platform agents which are A2A compliant in some way, right? So A2A compliance is not a given, to be honest. Even Google's own agents are not 100% A2A compliant. Can you also explain what is A2A compliant? Sure, just give me 1 second. Okay, so let's start with that. So A2A is, or agent-to-agent communication is a protocol that was released by Google in collaboration with pretty much everybody, every notable person or notable company in the world, right? And the idea behind it was that you have a standardized way of agents to kind of introduce themselves to the outside world, saying, okay, this is my name, this is my skills, these are the tools that I can use, and how can you reach me, right? So simple as that. Again, it's a protocol, and what it does say is how this communication should happen. Interestingly, it does not talk about the transport layer for this communication, and it just says HTTP and SSEs are the most common ones. That's all it says as a protocol level. So we just took this whole protocol and we made it compliant. We made it work with agents as events using the underlying broker of our choice, right? You could, again, switch out the broker. You could maybe use something else. That's absolutely fine. The concept and the architecture principles is the most relevant one. To answer your question, so even Google's agents are not completely or 100% A2A compliant. They still have these unique properties that they embed within it. Not all the enterprise platforms are A2A compliant. Some because they don't want to work with A2A, or they see that if they are A2A, they will be kind of a part of a whole rather than the big piece itself. So for example, SAP, right? So they just recently announced that they will become A2A compliant in 6 months, right? And that's like a long term coming. Similarly, but answering your question is, we don't care where your agents are. We don't care if SAP and Salesforce or AWS, they don't want to work with each other. We bring them a common platform, right? And again, based upon the theory of the architecture principle that events can be used as a transport model, you can have them in any other broker or any other platform to work with. Any other questions? Yes? Last one? I'm asking him. Last one? Okay.
Is it necessary for, when you use the agent mesh, is it necessary to use something like Tailscale, or to keep everything in the same sort of a network, or is it open to the entire internet, and do you need authentication?
You can pretty much dump the whole thing in a Kubernetes, and you can deploy it in your own private VPC or a private network or your private laptop or infrastructure, whatever you have. The way that I like to work is I kind of like to separate the platform itself from the different agents. Why this is because I can take down agents independently of the whole platform, right? And even if you deploy it within your own VPC and you want your agents to talk to each other, so you would build what is called as a Docker network or a Kubernetes network, and you would have them talk to each other. But it does not mean that they would be exposed to the internet. You can have, how do you say it? Gated access or gated events that come into the broker, and then you can use those events to trigger the orchestrator itself. So that broker kind of acts like a big gating mechanism as well. Any other questions? Oh yeah, of course, definitely. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Hari. Okay, last one is Ethan. Little applause for Ethan. Do you need anything?
No, just plug it in. Should be okay. So, my name is Ethan. It's been 0 days since I vibe coded. I was just asked to present something like half an hour ago, or however long ago it was that we were sitting out there. So this is not prepared at all. It's not even a replay of something I've previously presented. I want to mirror. Okay. But yeah, when asked what I would present, what came to mind is what I'm currently tinkering with, which is something that I guess you wouldn't have done prior to LLMs coming along and making it super easy to vibe code things, which kind of brings up the whole question of build versus buy. Before, you would have bought a lot more, and now there are things that you might have previously bought which you're like, actually maybe I'll give it a go. And as a humble engineering manager, I would only venture so far as to tackle tools that are not critical to the business. So I've been tinkering with an org planner because it helps me in my job. This is all fake data, so feel free to reach out to any of those people. The tool, yeah, I wanted to use it in my own job. It was as part of upcoming hiring plan we're doing, and I like to see things visually. So we start, as all companies do, in a spreadsheet, and then it's very hard to get a good feel for what the org is actually looking like when you're just looking at rows with different team names. So I asked Claude to whip this up on the train home a few weeks back, and then my manager, the VP, asked if I could make a few tweaks today. So it's still in progress. I'll just quickly walk through it, and then I will actually probably not spend too much time talking about this, because after I said that I would talk about the org planner, I realized there's probably something a little bit more interesting that I did for the company also quite recently, which also is mostly vibe coded, but might be more relatable to other people's problems. So really quickly demo of this. We have the tree view, which is what I like and was happy enough with, but my manager wanted this sort of tree map view, which after seeing it actually also can see why he'd like that. And the bit that's sort of most in flux at the moment, which is maybe hard to see because it's tiny, is this capacity suggestion logic on the side, which tells what teams can absorb what levels of hires. And yeah, this is, I won't spend too much more talking about this because, like, you know, you're probably all familiar. You can easily, like, in one Claude prompt, add something, a feature like light mode or dark mode. Like, Claude seems to prefer to default to dark mode, and my manager said specifically that he, for some, has an eye thing and finds light mode better. So that was added today on the way to work in the train. And yeah, so life is good. So that's basically it. One of the things that I ran into with my own vibe coding and others in work are running into is sharing these assets inside the company. We didn't have a good platform to do that, where we host our production systems on GCP. We don't use many of those platforms like Vercel and Firebase and things like that, and we want to not have so many different things that the IT and platform engineering teams have to be managing. So I know Claude has artifacts. I don't know if you guys have played with the artifacts. It's okay, but it wasn't doing the job for us when it comes to sharing things across the company. So what we really needed was simple static file hosting, which is really like some of the earliest part of the first days of the internet. And it turns out that we've gone through a sort of evolution where, static file hosting was some of the first things the internet could do. And then it was built into things like Google Drive and all these other Web 2.0 applications, and then subsequently removed because of cross-site scripting risks. So now pretty much none of the tools that you probably have day to day have static file hosting built in. So the solution that I ended up doing, which was even more trivial than putting this together, was to, well, firstly, I thought, okay, I love Google App Scripts. I don't know if you guys have used them, but if you're ever running into security restrictions at your company because they don't let you use MCPs to access Google Drive and things like that, just ask Claude to give you an app script that can do what you want, and then pop that into the app script editor. So I thought this might be something I could do to get the static file hosting working, and I was going to have it start by you putting a file into a folder in Google Drive, and then you go to some URL which is running just an app script to load the HTML from that Google Drive file and render it, and that actually worked. But if your HTML page has JavaScript in it, then it doesn't work. So that's where I needed something a little bit more advanced, and decided to deploy a Cloud Run instance. But then, because these are all to be protected internally, I don't know if you've heard of IAP. It's a GCP service. It stands for Identity Aware Proxy. Azure and AWS have their own equivalents. I think Cognito is probably close enough in AWS. But it's a single flag you can use to when you're deploying, that you can make it so people in your company can access it, but anyone outside on the public internet can't, because it basically injects this auth flow. So that's super handy. So now we have I can show you, since we're here to see things. I'll just put the short link. GS, static, yes. So now the Cloud Run instance has role permissions to read from a certain Google Drive folder. I'll zoom in for people. All right. And people just drop stuff in there, and this is me. You can just open these. Oh, maybe not that one. That was a test of a link or something. Here we go. Okay. Yeah. So, very trivial problem to solve, but a problem nonetheless. And ironically, the thing that I've gotten the most praise from people in the company is, oh, this has been so helpful for AI enablement that you can now share static files. But yeah, here we are. Happy to take any questions if there are any. While I'm here, quick plug, I suppose, that my company is hiring also pretty much across the board in engineering. And as an engineering manager, I have a duty too. Gigs.com, this is our logo. I'll just pull up the careers page and you can. Gigs is what we are doing for telecom is what Stripe did for payments. So you can, if you're building a software or hardware product that needs to have or would like to have data plans added in, instead of going directly to the network providers like AT&T or Vodafone and having a arduous negotiation with them, you can integrate with us, and negotiation is much easier and your access to markets is much quicker. And it's as simple as that. We are growing quite quickly. I don't know if you've seen the launches with Klarna and Revolut and what's it called? Walmart's OnePay product in the US, Chime, Cash App, pretty nice brands. And this is our long list of openings, so don't hesitate to chase me down if you're interested. Thank you.
Ideas, maybe?
Yeah. Any dives? Cool. I'll check it out.